All right, well, good afternoon to everybody who's able to join us this afternoon. It's 1 o'clock Eastern time here, so I figure we get started. This should be roughly about I don't know, maybe 30 to 45 minute just presentation about HyperDocs. I'd like to
All right, well,
start.
good afternoon to everybody who's able to join us this afternoon. It's 1 o'clock Eastern time.
I'd like to first thank Gia Parrott, who's a technology resource teacher at Lowe's Island Elementary, who shared some of her information with me when she did some HyperDocs training recently at a Google Summit. So that just kind of gave me a springboard here to kind of get started on this training, which I did for my staff at Mercer Middle School a few weeks ago. So if you'd like to follow along with the presentation, right here on the screen here, you can see the shortened Google URL. I'll leave that up for a few moments here if you want to type that in to your browser, and you can follow along through this presentation. There are several documents linked throughout this, so if I kind of lose you along the way, don't worry, because this link should take you to the folder with all those documents in there. So I'm gonna get started here. So let's jump ahead here, and I love this graphic here of the mindset of change because it really it's funny, but also it kind of hits it on the nail, the head of the nail with how people are when it comes to changing how they've been teaching for years and years. And I kind of experienced this talking to staff members as well as brand new teachers. So I feel the ones that kind of latched onto the whole HyperDoc thing are sort of in this green area. They're in a new beginning area. They're creative. They're accepting. They're impatient because they want to get through it. They want to get it built and roll it out and try it out, which has sort of been the experience so far through feedback from staff that I trained on this. Education right now, I think, we're in that circle of chaos for a variety of reasons, but the great part is that we just keep chugging along, and we have a lot of creative people out there that are in the classroom. And again, this is just another tool that you can use to a variety of extents. You can jump in and go all the way, or you can just simply break it down and do simple little test runs here and there. So there's no commitment to doing a 90-minute or 2-month lesson using HyperDocs, but feel free to jump in and just start using it for maybe a 15, 20-minute activity. So why HyperDocs? It actively engages and ensures students are participating. It's very easy to differentiate with your teaching because it really does free up time for you to kind of circulate through the classroom. You're not the one presenting all the information all the time. You're giving students links to a file of many types, and they're just able to go out and find information themselves and then come back, provide feedback to you about what they found out. And it really just pushes them to think a little bit more. But at the same time, you can differentiate what they're producing. So students who enjoy maybe making videos versus writing an essay, you can provide that option pretty simply within a HyperDoc. And these 5 phrases over here, words, these are all different ways you can differentiate through HyperDocs as well as any other means, how you differentiate now. So how can you differentiate? Well, the way technology has evolved, and there's so much great stuff out there now, there's a variety of ways you can do this. Again, you can hit students' interests by giving them just different options to produce and show what they learned through the course of a lesson or a short activity. The hardest part when you start developing HyperDocs is truly just trying to find out what's the best tool, what's going to work for me to, I have a certain amount of time to learn it, and I want my students to just kind of jump in and get going. I don't want to spend a lot of time training them on how to use it. So it's really kind of up to you what you want to do, and it's really sort of that backward thinking, so that universal design for learning approach is what's your end goal, and kind of work your way back from that. So really what a HyperDoc is an interactive Google Doc, Google Slides, Google Form, Google Sheet, and it could be any Microsoft product as well. It could be any sort of other free online means to sort of just collect information. So really HyperDoc is just a hyperlinking document. That's really kind of what it comes down to. And a lot of people doing this for years. I can remember my first couple years of teaching using this with like PowerPoints and having videos linked through a slideshow. The hard part about that is everything had to be in the same folder. And if you needed to update something, you sort of had to not essentially recreate everything, but redistribute all that information and files to whoever had access. So it was kind of hard to update and get people the latest information. And then if something got moved to a different folder, it would break the link and everything. So Google, I just found it's just very easy to use in the world of education because everything links to each other. Everything works together well. You can embed things in different document types, and you're creating engaging and innovative experiences for your students. So this image over here is from Sarah Landis, who's one of the gurus of HyperDocs. You may have heard her name if you do any searching for what a HyperDoc is. What I like about this image here is it really takes you through the process of designing a HyperDoc. And again, it's really, I don't say anything brand new. It's just sort of changing the process of how you present your lessons. So if you go back, I almost think the design part is the one a lot of people jump into right away. And I kind of fell into that when I was developing this training. Was I wanted to make it look good. And then I kind of went back to, oh, what do I actually want to include in there? And that's kind of the hard part when you kind of get started. Just like our students, we want to make it look cool, and then we sort of neglect the content. So just beware of that pitfall and really start with the objectives. What do you want the students to do? What do you want them to learn? And kind of go through this process. And you really can produce some really great stuff here. So there are several packaging options within Google of how you can create a HyperDoc and distribute it to students. I'll say up front, probably the best way to distribute Google or any sort of HyperDoc is through Google Classroom, because it does provide you the option to allow or force students to get a copy of the document for their own editing. Now that does present some problems because obviously they're going to be able to edit stuff and change stuff, but that's a great discussion to have with your students about digital citizenship. And really just taking the information you have there and just going with it. And who cares if they really edit any information? The documents is giving them the path to get out to the information on the web or wherever you may have it. So Google Docs are very versatile. What I like about these is now you can add tables and merge stuff and kind of make it look cool. And you can sort of colorize the different squares. So it's kind of easy to lead students through the lesson without you actually having to say, okay, go to another number to this, number 2, number 3, number 4. You can have that set up and just help them progress through the document themselves. Google Maps is very cool, kind of a neat way to differentiate instruction and really get kids involved in deeper thinking. Because when you use Google Maps, you'll put a pin on a location. You can embed videos, images, documents. You can have hyperlinks to other websites. So it's sort of like a springboard for all these really cool things that can go on. Google Slides is what I'm using now. What I like about slides over documents is that you can embed videos into a slideshow, whereas you can't in a document yet. I'd imagine that's something coming down the line because Google's always doing some really cool updates. But that's sort of, I guess, the advantage over slides versus docs. Otherwise, they're pretty similar as far as what you can do with them. Believe it or not, you can use Google Sheets to differentiate. One of the things is you can have one file with different tabs, and each student, you can give editing rights to their own tab. So they can see others' work, but they can edit just within their tab and do certain tasks in there. And I'll show you an example of how I use Google Sheets to do some Spanish verb conjugations. So I don't cause any anxiety by saying Spanish conjugations. I'm sure people are having flashbacks to high school Spanish and no, verb conjugations. Google Forms has become really powerful tools to differentiate and sort of a one-stop shop for a HyperDoc. You can embed videos and images now and answers. It's a great way to have students kind of do the flipped classroom approach where they watch a video and answer several questions below, and it collects the data for you automatically and in real time. And then finally, Google Sites, which have been updated, I believe it was like the beginning or mid of November. This is a great sort of database where you can have all your HyperDocs listed for students and kind of turn pages on and off when you want to make them available to students. So again, each of these has their own advantages, their pros and cons, and it's really, again, finding the package that works for you and your students. What, again, the HyperDocs do is allows several grouping options. The whole class approach can be a little scary, especially if you use Google Classroom and create an assignment and just say, I want everybody to edit this single document. It can get a little crazy when you're watching it, but it's a great opportunity for students to learn about collaborating with other students. And again, it just depends on the activity. You can have your students, sort of build a vocabulary list for the entire class. You just provide the template, and Johnny, Susie, and Mikey get numbers 1, 2, and 3, and they have to come up with a definition. They have to provide a link to another resource or an image or a video. You can have students pair up. Now, Google Classroom doesn't allow you to create assignments that you can pair students up individually. It's sort of everybody gets it or nobody gets it. So the better approach here would be to create a Google document of some type and then just share it out like you would any other document with those students. Having small groups work on a HyperDoc together. You can sort of give them a framework of a slideshow, and then each person in that group has a task to do to complete a slideshow for the class. Obviously, your individual grouping option, you're really just giving kids your lesson plan without all the notes that you kind of leave yourself as a teacher, but they just sort of explore on their own that way. And this kind of got cut off here with this image here, but global partners, if they're obviously a Google Suite for Education site, great way to kind of pair up with another school or another classroom or someone way across the other side of the world to collaborate on a document here. And one of our initiatives in Loudoun County is One to the World, which is this OTTW. And we're looking for ways to kind of expand outside the classroom walls, working with other students in other classrooms to share lessons. So the HyperDoc template here, again, this is from Sarah Landis, and this hyperlink will take you to her website here. This is a great website because they provide several templates. We'll show you a couple here of how to build a HyperDoc, and it really comes down to what you want to do and how you want to get it out to your students. So this one is essentially taking you through all the pieces of essentially what's Bloom's taxonomy here. So your students are getting engaged, they're exploring a little bit, and they're getting to the application and product stage here. Now let's just go to this link here and kind of show you what's out there. So actually, this is not the website, sorry. This is that 5 steps to create a HyperDoc. And here, these are hyperlinks to the 4 different models they talk about here. And again, it can be as elaborate or as general as you want it to be. This first one, as you can see, sign in here real quick. Sorry about that. So here, this is could be a short 15-minute lesson. They're just exploring. They have a little task to do. They learn, have a little task. Then they're going to watch something, and then they're going to apply it in a little task. So this could be 15 minutes, could be 20 minutes, could be 45 minutes. And let's go to the 5 E's we already looked at. So let me go here, the HyperDoc model. That is the one we looked at. All right, so this one, you have a couple of squares here. And again, what I like about these templates is they've already set them up for you. So you're just putting in your information and deciding on what's the task you want your students to do. These images are a little slow here loading. So again, you're sort of doing that scaffolding here. You're engaging your students some interest. So it could just be an image, could be a short video they watch. And then they're going to go out and branch out from there and explore other videos, and they can pick and choose which ones they want to watch. And then the explain section, this is where they're going to explain what video they watched, why they chose it over the others, maybe elaborate and how can this video be better? How does it apply to something they've already learned in class? And then go on and evaluate another student's work or another video that they go out and discover on their own. So it could be as simple as that, or as elaborate as having them create an amazing video of some sort. So it's sort of at your own discretion. So feedback and evaluation is always an important part of any lesson. Google Forms allows that to be pretty immediate. You can have them watch a short video, so that flipped classroom approach I mentioned already, and answer some questions. And as you compile the data, you can see where students are struggling or having misconceptions and address them before you get too far into the lesson. In any Google file that you create, there's that comment feature. So you can actually have students share it out with another student and only allow them to comment on it, or vice versa. You can share a document to a student, give them commenting rights, and then it's another way to kind of offer feedback and evaluate how your students' knowledge is. And then finally, through Google Classroom, when students create an assignment and submit it, you get an option then to individually communicate with them through basically a texting feature or a forum built in the Google Classroom. So it's an immediate way to get feedback to and from students on their work. So I'm going to show you some lesson ideas and resources that you might find valuable. And again, these were shared from Gia, as well as some of the other HyperDoc gurus out there. So one I wanted to show you with the Google Maps is this Geographic Features and Natural Wonders one. This one, again, is really impressive. And what this is going to show is some of the natural wonders of the world. So students, you could assign, each one of the groups of students, or if you have a very small class, which I highly doubt anybody has anymore, they would simply click here or just click on the pin, and it brings up some information that the student created or the teacher created here. And it actually, he or she embedded some video possibly, or an image. There's some Google Maps here again, and some more photos for the students to look at. So again, students are, they may not be ever going up to Alaska, but they're able to view it in video form or photo form. And it's kind of a neat way to use Google Maps, and they're pretty straightforward to create. I'd say maps are probably I don't want to say most difficult, but they're probably the hardest ones to build, just because there's so much involved, and if you're not familiar with Google Maps, it can be a little tricky at times. So I'd probably hold off on doing that one unless you're pretty familiar with how to navigate through maps. Another one was kind of neat was the cell types, if I recall. So what I like about this one is a great example of a HyperDoc that it's basically the teacher's lesson plan, but I'm giving students access to maybe view it, or I can give them editing rights to it. And what this allows them to do then is they can go through this activity themselves. They can, it has their objective. They're going to go to Google Classroom and do all these things, complete some notes, and that's the HyperDoc. Nothing too crazy, but just again, engaging the students, and they can work at their own pace, and allows the teacher to kind of circulate around the room if they're working in pairs or groups and interacting with all the students. To show you an example of a HyperDoc that I created here, I'm a former Spanish teacher. I taught high school Spanish for 8 years. And one of the hardest things for students to understand is subject pronouns and conjugating verbs. And partly that's because we're not very good at our own language, let alone another language. So to kind of take you through the HyperDoc here, I've sort of embedded different activities here. So what I would do is push this document out to Google Classroom. Students get their own copy. So I just have them go to present here. And there's a hyperlink here for the definition of what a subject pronoun is. So they have an idea of what it is, and you can kind of go back here. And the objective here is then they go through these charts here, and the directions are already here, and the yellow squares are going to type in the responses. So the female singular third person would be she, animal or thing would be it. When they're done, they'd click check answers. And they could go jump to, oh, looks like my slide got deleted. It should jump to this slide here, so they can check their answers. And then they can go back to their slide here and double check their answers. I also built in an example here using Google Sheets. So this is take them out to a Google Sheet here. And what I've done is use conditional formatting. So they're doing the same activity, but they can do a self-check instead of having to click on another slide with all the answers already in there. What they would do, this is a little slow connection here for me. So when they type in a term, if it's incorrect, it stays yellow. However, if they type in the correct term, it turns green. So they know, oh, I got that one right. I can move on to the next one and keep going. Again, another way to do the same activity I just showed you, but with through Google Sheets and using some conditional formatting. And again, what this allows the teacher to do is kind of walk around. If kids are jumping ahead and they're already on slide 5 after 2 minutes, you can always go back and say, hey, let me see your slide and make sure it's been completed. So as they progress to this, they've now looked at a definition. They've done some quick practice in English. And now I give them the option. Would you rather read about subject pronouns or watch a short video about it? I may have something I want to read about subject pronouns, which are not a great way to stay awake during the day. Or I can watch a really fun video, which is about 4 or 5 minutes. After they do that, they're going to go to this link here and take a short quiz. And this is something I found online. It was free. And what I like about this one is there's already the questions built. They go through and answer them all. And they submit their answers. And right at the bottom, it gives them a score. Before they move on to the next activity, though, I have in the document here, they have to show me that they at least got an 80% before they can move on to the next activity. If they didn't get an 80, they clear their answers and they basically get a new set of questions, if I recall. They make it shuffled around or something, so they keep practicing until they get 80%. Once they do that, they're going to do some oral practice here. So they click on this link, takes them to the same website. And now they can listen to the word and say the word, and I can hear, work on the student's pronunciation with them as well. So even if students are at this point, I may have some students that are still taking the quiz and trying 2 or 3 times before they move on. But what it's allowing me to do is circulate the classroom, and kids are going to be at their own pace, and I can self-correct, or they can self-correct, or I can work with them when they're struggling. Now this is sort of a similar activity, but here they're dragging the English subject pronouns down to the Spanish ones. Once they complete that, they can click and check on their answers. That's right, it says deleted slide, but it would take them down to slide 11, and here's their answers. And they can always go back and move on from here. And then one of the last activities are going to, what's a verb definition, conjugate, or write down the verbs we studied in class, write the English meanings, read a little bit about what it means to conjugate a verb in English, then in Spanish, and then there's a great video here, about 6 minutes long, that they're going to watch. And once they do that, they're going to do some practicing here. So this links to a spreadsheet. And again, I used conditional formatting here, so when they get the correct answer, the cell turns green. If they get it wrong, it stays yellow, and they have to keep practicing till they get it to turn green. And to kind of show you how that works. My Spanish is still pretty good. And I'll click enter after typing in comes. And there you go, so it turns green. So I know I'm correct and I can keep going on. So really that simple of a lesson could be built into a HyperDoc for students. Normally, I'd beat my head against the wall of what a subject pronoun is, define it in English, and then having to go back to their English teachers and having them come back and tell me. This just made it a little bit more fun for both the students and myself, teaching a not so thrilling subject matter, I guess I should say. So again, a really cool example. So back to the slideshow here. If you want to follow the HyperDoc people that sort of brought it to light here and made it famous, those are their Twitter handles. And then there's some other examples here of some great websites where you can post and also get templates. And really, I wouldn't start from scratch and go see what's out there, see if there's something already done for you and tweak it. It'll save yourself a lot of time. These are some great tools that are out there, suggested in the HyperDoc handbook, and as well as a few others that I've been using lately. I really like Canva. Even the free version is very powerful. There's some great free templates out there, from desktop wallpapers to infographics to postcards and brochures and stuff like that. Some of these collaborate ones, I haven't really heard of some of these. Some of them are really great. Again, they have their pros and cons, so just picking the tool that's going to fit your needs. And so where to begin? You can keep it simple. This link here will take you to a sort of a template file here, which you're welcome to kind of begin using to start your own HyperDocument. So you're gonna be forced to make a copy here. So all I have to do is go up to File. And when this finishes loading here, make a copy and you'll have editing rights to your own document. There's some resources here to developing your HyperDoc. And then I also have a link here to a document I kind of put together that has pretty much all these little just questions that came up when I did this training, like how do I do this? How do I do that? Just little simple things that can really make your HyperDocument kind of fun and interesting. From customizing tables to citations, which is finally come back to Google Documents, creating fillable text boxes. If you want to do a table of contents. Connection is slowing down quite a bit here. So how to insert an image and video, just real simple things. So again, it's just find a tool that's going to fit your needs and finding the way to package and get it out to your students. If you're ready to kind of kick it up a notch, you can also go to one of these sites here, and there's some sample lesson plans you can just download and start working on and tweaking however you need to be. And it's great to share what you've produced through any social media outlet. Teachers give, or is it teachers? Go back one more. Teachers Give Teachers is a great site to upload documents that you haven't. You can purchase things, you can sell things, you can trade with each other. So it's give one, take one type of approach there. And finally, I'll leave you some tips and tricks here. The workflow can be sort of a uphill battle sometimes. It just depends on what your district and school has available to you. If you're lucky enough to have Google Classroom, that's probably your best outlet. If you use stuff like Moodle or Edmodo, those will suffice as well. They have some great options that may surpass what Google Classroom offers. I do like using the Google URL shorteners because it gives you a QR code. So if you have students who are familiar with using QR codes, and just having that shortened URL really makes it easy for students to type in those what can be very lengthy URLs and cut down on time wasted on trying to get the correct URL typed in. Using YouTube, if you're creating videos and posting them, whether you do a flipped classroom or you're producing stuff outside of class and just having students watch it prior to coming to class or right at the beginning of class, that's a great way to do it. And then finally embedding it in a website or other document. If you use Google Sites, that's a great place to have a one-stop shop with all your documents because they integrate very easily, they embed nicely, and it just always works together. So might want to look at some of those to try out. On these last two slides are just kind of some screenshots of setting up your pages in a document, how to install images or insert images and everything. Some really cool websites out there, Pexels, and if you do have subscription to audio blocks and video blocks, those are very cool. We're lucky in Loudoun County to have some countywide resources there. Some really cool stuff built in with some uncopywritten videos and audio that you can use to build into your lessons. All right. So that should be it for the presentation here. Let's see if there's any questions from anybody. It doesn't look like it. So I hope that was a great introduction for you to what HyperDocs are, how you can use them in your classroom. Again, don't be afraid to try it out with a short activity. It doesn't need to be an elaborate 5-week lesson. Just take something you're already doing and put it in a document of some sort and embed some video or using some Google products there. And I think you'll be impressed with the time you're saving yourself in the long run and the amount of time you're going to have free to kind of walk around and facilitate learning in your classroom. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me through Twitter or Google Plus to the GEG Northern Virginia community. So I hope you have a great holiday and keep in touch. Thanks.